Yeah, that's all right.
Joe, if you would hold this, we'll do it together. Okay, here's a picture of somebody.
I got you.
Really?
I got you.
This is the first. You can stand, you can sit, whatever.
Yep.
Guys, it's a joy. We're gonna have a great night tonight. Everybody have fun. Please join me, will you? I like to do things together.
Okay, I would like,
Now, I got a story. I shared how Mosey with Joe Watson.
Rabbi Joe, don't sit down. Please go up and grab some food. You can go up and grab some food.
Are we ready now?
We're ready now.
Are you calling them up?
I'm calling them up. Warren's hungry. You're on your own now. Once they get up there, the rest of you are on your own. One more thing. We are doing a 50-50. If you are interested, $20.
good story.
I loved it.
Well, I never knew the guy. Right. And so we're after practice, we go back to the hotel, we're sitting there having something to eat. All of a sudden, we walk over, we didn't know we had a heart attack. We didn't know the guys, they had no idea. And they were arriving out of the hotel, they took the next one. I'm glad they took a chance on it. We won the final clear. Come down like holy shit, here they come. I gotta back up. Let our arm the board go around. I'll goddamn hair sometimes. We have saved the puppy for that. I didn't understand. Yeah, right. That's what they were doing. Right. We couldn't figure it out. We had a even though a lot of them. Oh, Thank
Hello, everybody. Excuse me? We are, excuse me. Okay, first of all, for this evening, I would like to thank Peter Ghosh for putting this all together. We are going now to do a little bit of benching, led by the rabbi, and as little as you'd like to do.
That's so good. Benching. Yeah. Yiddish for saying blessings, usually referring to Bir Kadabazon. Thank you, Michael. There you go. Erev Tov, everyone. I hope you enjoyed dinner. Look at this room. I never saw so much orange in this room. This is great. I have had one of the greatest pleasures of my life spending dinner with Joe Watson, I got to tell you. Give him a big hand. I was at the first Flyers game ever. You too? 1967. October 19th. October 14th was my birthday. My dad took our whole family for my 10th birthday. But I believe it was the 19th, Joe. October, we can look it up. I think it was October. It was not my actual birthday. I know it was a few days. I think it was the 19th. They beat Pittsburgh 1-0. Bill Sutherland scored the goal in the second period. And we sat in section J. Right on the corner. Perfect. Yes, it was hardly not sold out. And every guy in the room, including me, 10-year-old me, wore a suit and a tie. Oh, yeah. That's how you went. They would not let you in dressed like today. Not like this? Yeah. What are you here? What are you here to take out the trash? Go around the back. Anyway, Joe played that night. They won 1-0. It was the first game ever. And I have on my phone, I took pictures. Jordy Uter saw him years ago because we've been longtime friends and Flyers fans. But somehow, I don't know how it happened, I got a program of the first night. On the cover of the first program is the Stanley Cup. There was no history yet. It wasn't like they could show pictures of, there was nothing, Stanley Cup. And I remember a guy in a burgundy jacket, which was the color of Spectacor at that time, took the program, and he said, I'll be right back. I don't know how this happened. He came back a little while later. I think my family didn't care. They don't know where they were. It's like I was 10 years old, I was left alone. He came back later. He got the entire team to sign the program. The cover. I have it. I have it. And Joe Watson's autograph is on there. Joe, can you tell me, was that your autograph, or did I write it myself? I showed you the autograph. Did that look like yours? Joe's name is on there. Bernie Parent, from the original team, Captain Louis Gotti. These were his buddies. And I had like 25 autographs, and I have it now. And it's October 19th, yeah. Right, it was their first home game, but the first home game ever. And the rest has been history. And Joe has been regaling us with like the stories that only a player can tell about the Stanley Cups. And, you know, when we talk about Bobby Clark, we talk about, if you're a fan like me, some great hero and all that. He talks about one day I was sitting next to Bobby on the bench. I don't have a story like that. But he's telling us great stories. And about when they beat the Russians. Remember that big game? Right? Yes. Great stories. He was friends. He will. I'm not telling anything. But he was friends with all these people. That's my brother-in-law, Steven. He's about to leave for the evening. He's telling us like Tretiak. Remember Tretiak? The goalie? They refer to that, yeah. I'm just saying, it has been such a joy. Besides the fact that the stories are amazing, he is the nicest guy in the world. Joe, thank you for being here tonight. Really. We're going to sing the first paragraph of Birkat Hamazon. Joe, after spending this night, you can tell everybody you're an honorary Jew. With me. Yeah, you're in the club. So, and along with Joe's uncle, cousin, Bobby Valentine, who is here, we also made him an honorary Jew. So, you know. Circumcision's over there. There you go. Circumcisions are us. We're going to sing the first paragraph on page 1. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hazan et haolam kulo b'tuvo b'chein b'chesed u'vrachamim hu noten lechem l'chol basar ki le'olam chasto uv'tuvo hagadol tami lo chasar lanu v'al yachsar lanu Mazon li'olam va'ed bavur shemo hagadol ki hu elzan u'farnes lakol u'meitiv lakol u'mechin mazon lechol briotav asher bara baruch atah Adonai hazan et hakol. There is a line on page 5. If you can follow the little page numbers at the bottom, it's mostly pink at the bottom. It says, Harachaman yivarech kol misubin kan. Dear God, we thank you for blessing us with the company of everybody here tonight. It is a joy to be with you all. And again, a very unique joy to be with Joe Watson. I'll never forget this night. We're going to conclude with a prayer for peace at the bottom of page 6. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimaru. Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi. Next up, we are going to, hold on one second. Okay. We are going to be moving on to our awards ceremony, where we're going to honor our newest recipient of the Hersher Gordon Lador Vador Lifetime Achievement Award. And I would just like to mention the past winners. Hersher Gordon of Blessed Memory, Jerry Maker of Blessed Memory, Herb Gallup, who graced us with his presence on the Bema this past weekend, Bert Abrams, Sam Wenzel, Dave Vimber of Blessed Memory, Paul Sonic of Blessed Memory, Bennett Fishbein, Fred Weisberger, Aaron Sewell, who's here tonight, and alive, Alan Blumenthal, and Stephen Pearl. And I'd like to call up the chair of our Lador Vador committee, David Barrist.
Thank you, Michael. First, I would like to acknowledge Bruce Rissler, who is here. Bruce, who was one of the originators of the Lador Vidor Award roughly 10, 15 years ago. And Bruce, among many of his contemporaries, thought Men's Club has a Member of the Year award, but we don't have something for lifetime achievement to Congregation Beth Tikva B'nai Jeshurun. They got together, and what was born was the Lador Vidor Award, and then renamed for its first recipient, the Herschel Gordon Lador Vidor Award, lifetime achievement to Congregation Beth Tikva B'nai Jeshurun. So, Michael listed our previous winners, all well-deserving, and over the last couple years, a number of us who served on the Men's Club board, and by the way, I have the Men's Club board's best title, which is immediate past president. Trust me, there's no better title on any board anywhere. There's only one catch. To get to this title, you have to serve as president, which isn't so bad either. I digress. So, over the last year, a number of us were getting together, and after we presented Alan Blumenthal with the award at this dinner in the fall of 2019, it was almost a running joke. All right, so at what point do we give it to Rabbi? Is it this year? Is it next year? When do we give it to Rabbi? And Aaron can attest to this, at our Men's Club Spring Fling last April or May when we had a barbecue in the parking lot, I said to Aaron, Rabbi this year, Lador Vidor, yes? Aaron said yes. I said, we then close the committee, we're done. That was our committee meeting. It was a unanimous vote of 2 among hot dogs and beer. But in all seriousness, when you talk about lifetime achievement, Rabbi has given to this congregation a few lifetimes of achievement, and in hockey terms, he leads BTBJ in assists, because all of the lifetime achievements he assisted of BTBJ members, whether it's Benot Mitzvot, whether it's weddings, and the end of the life cycle funeral, he has assisted all of us in Lador Vidor. And we all can't thank him enough for all that you have done for our community. And, you know, me specifically, you don't know when you're going to need your spiritual leader. You don't know when your family is going to need it most. And when we did, you knocked it out of the ballpark. Thank you for all you did for our family. So, It's been an incredible year. It's been an incredible weekend celebrating Rabbi. But I will say this for the Men's Club, we were trendsetters. We had our winner long before this weekend was even planned. So with that, I proudly present the 2021 Beth Tikva B'nai Jeshurun Men's Club Herschel Gordon Lador Vidor Award to Rabbi Solgray.
Smile. David, I'm so honored. Should I say a couple quick words?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Voting
Great.
is yours.
Thank you, guys. Please have a seat. David, do me a favor. Put this back in the box so it doesn't get broken. That is absolutely gorgeous, and I'm honored. And I think I'm most honored that you decided over hot dogs and beer. I think that was the way to move. I'll make it brief. It's been a long weekend. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. Some of us go back 23 and a half years. A lot of you have come along since then. We've had a lot of great times, and I'm going to treasure them all. And hopefully the road will continue. We'll see how and when, and we'll take it from there. But one of the few things I wanted to focus on, Men's Club has always been so welcoming to me. and I thank you. You've also been very welcoming to my father. If my father was in better health, he would have been here tonight. But it was a little too much for him. He was here Friday, and he couldn't make Saturday, and he's just done for today. But I will tell him that, we were here tonight. He knows about it. I think one of the greatest things we've done was the night of study in the Sukkah. And I'll tell you why. Sukkot is a major holiday, but it often gets overshadowed naturally because after Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, a lot of Jews are gone for a while, till Hanukkah. So this beautiful 9-day celebration of Torah and the Sukkah and the Lulav and the Etrog gets lost, and a lot of people just don't know about it in our world, And I was watching the Sukkah every year, going in there, doing our thing. Bert was there, then Aaron came along and helped to redesign it, and then Michael came along and helped so much. Where'd Michael go? There he is. And others too. I don't leave anybody out. But I would look at the Sukkah and go, it's like standing here for like 8 days and nobody's here, And I said, we got to get the men's club in there one night. And once we started, you guys faithfully came out every year. And we had food, depending on pandemic or not, sometimes a barbecue, sometimes whatever. But we'd sit around and we'd study something. And we would talk about Judaism. And that's one of the greatest mitzvot you can do. For all of us studying Talmud now, it talks about it. It says, Basukot teshu shivat yamim, in the Sukkah you shall dwell and study and eat and live 7 days. And you guys have done that. You guys have done that. And I'm really proud of you, and I hope you always will. No matter what you're doing there, just to be in there. You study, it's great. You hang out in there, it's great. You drink a beer, it's great. But I hope you always continue that, because that's what Jews have been doing to keep Judaism alive for 4,000 years. And the Sukkah goes way back. It's in the Torah. So I'm so proud of that night. I'm proud of all of our trips to New York. We had great times there. I'm proud of everyone who went to Israel with us. And I'm proud of everything I've been a part of, and you've always been so welcoming to my family and I. So I am beyond honored, and I thank you for that. Tonight I have to think about one name, Ruthie Schwartz. Because you know that the other award during the year is the Solly Schwartz Memorial Award. And Ruthie was a great friend of mine, and she was a great student, and she died just a few months ago. But this is a night she would have loved, because she came every year, no matter what, to help give that award. So I just talked to her daughter, Doreen, and we shared the love and the memories, so it's good. So I wish everybody all the best, all good things. We'll see where the future goes. And thank you all for honoring me. I'm beyond words. I'm appreciative. One second. So you're going to hear from him a little later. He's really been a joy to talk with and eat dinner with. But Joe Watson is wearing a very special ring because he was on a Stanley Cup winning team. Joe, this is a pretty cool award. You want to trade? I was just wondering what the reaction would be.
Joe, you let him put it on. I'm surprised he said that it was able to come off. I could swear as soon as you handed it to him, I thought he's going to be sitting there going, I can't get it off, I can't get it off. I just want to share one story about the rabbi before we continue. And dessert is out if you want to grab some over there. And we have a 50-50 for $20 that Jay will be around if anybody else has not participated and would like to at this point. And then we'll get to Joe. When I guess it must have been like 13 years ago, my daughter's 14, I got a call from the rabbi. I'm in the car, I'm on my way to pick up my daughter from daycare, and I get a call from the rabbi. Michael, you have to help me out. I need help, can you help me out? I'm like, sure, rabbi. In my head, I'm thinking, somebody needs something, I have to deliver something for him, somebody needs a minion somewhere. I say, well, rabbi, what is it? He goes, I have a ticket to AC/DC. Can you make it? I'm like, when is it? He goes, it's in we have to leave here in like a half hour. And I said, well, I'm picking up my daughter from daycare. My wife won't be home for like another hour. She's on the train. I can't just leave my daughter. He's like, don't worry, I'll send over my wife. And I can't get a hold of my wife on the train because she's like in the tunnels at the time. So when I get home, his wife is already at my house. Leave the kid with her. I go pick up the rabbi and we drive down to go see AC/DC playing at Wells Fargo. My wife comes home. Of course, I didn't get a hold of her the whole time to panic a little bit because my car's not there. She walks in the house and there's Linda sitting with my daughter on his lap. But Rabbi, was everything that you've ever invited me to, and thank you. You've always opened up your house and going to see the concerts and everything else. I want to thank you very much. You haven't just been my rabbi, you've been my friend.
You too. Thank you.
Okay. Jordy, would you like to come up? Jordy was institutional. Institutional. I can't think of a better word. Institutional.
That's more like it.
No, but he was, that's the word I was looking for. I like my word better, though. He was instrumental in getting our speaker for tonight, and I would like him to introduce him.
Thanks. Before I get into introducing our guest speaker, I just want to say that I echo what Michael said about Rabbi Greif. He's not only my rabbi, but he's my friend. And we go back to 1981 when he was my Hebrew school teacher at AJ, along with Howard Jaffe over here. And so that's how far back we go. And then since then, we've been to concerts together at the Kimmel Center to see Roger Daltrey. We went down to Washington to see The Who, thanks to Howard. And Quadrophenia. And we've also played together at the Wells Fargo Center. We can say we played music live at the Wells Fargo Center. And Friends Select. And a lot of other things, Shabbatones and things like that. So thank you for everything. Really, really, thank you for everything. You've been my rabbi and my friend. With regard to Mr. Watson, the first time I met Joe Watson, I think I was 9 years old. I went into a restaurant in Philadelphia, and I see this guy standing there, and I thought, oh my God, this guy looks like Joe Watson. But what would he be doing here? Because, these were my gods. These were gods to me. And I was too petrified to really go over and say hello and introduce myself. He scared me. He still scares me a little bit. But I'm happy to say over the years we've met, and for the past 5 or 6 years I've been playing in the Flyers fantasy camp for the last 5 years every year, along with Howard again. That's the common denominator, is Howard Jaffe. And Joe and I got to know each other. We became friendly. And last year when I came down with COVID, there was one person other than my family, and even then I'm not sure about my family, but one person that called me every single day when I was sick, when I was in the hospital, when I came out of the hospital, for about 5 weeks straight, without miss, every day, I got a call from Joe Watson to see how I'm doing. And, like I said, these guys were gods to me, but I'm even more proud to say that Joe is a really, really dear friend of mine. And I hope you enjoy the stories that he tells you, because there's some really great ones. And if we're lucky, maybe we'll get some of the more exciting stories about Oakland and... Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Joe Watson.
I don't really need a mic, because where I'm from, in northern British Columbia, 150 miles from Alaska, there are more people are more wild game than there are people up there. So everybody says to me, well, how come you got such a loud voice? I said, well, I had a scream to get their attention. And so that's where I got Thundermouth. My nickname as a player was Thundermouth, amongst other names, but that one stuck more than the other ones. But it certainly is a pleasure to be here this evening. I'm glad to have the opportunity to come here and talk to you, gentlemen. I want to tell you my story as a young fella growing up and becoming a professional athlete, and the trials and tribulations I had to go through to become a professional athlete. I came into this world in 1943, July 6, 1943. And as you're growing up, you have aspirations of doing this and that, making a living for yourself or whatever it may be. And I remember I started skating when I was 3 and a half. I go out in the ice and my uncle Wilf was an uncle of mine, and he got me a double runner skates, and he'd have a chair with me and let me push off the chair, and then if I thought I was going to fall, to break the fall, I'd grab onto the chair. And that's how basically I learned to skate, and then I progressed from there. But it's funny how somebody can make such an impact in your life at a young age. And I was 7 years old. I grabbed the puck and went through this whole team and scored a goal, and I come back to the bench, and the local druggist was a guy named Claude Munson, and a town of 600 people. And when I come back to the bench, Mr. Munson said, Joey, you keep on playing like that, you'll play in the National Hockey League one of these years. And it's funny how that stuck with me. That was 71 years ago when I heard that from a gentleman. So somebody, you never know when somebody's made such an impact in your life, and he made such an impact, and I have never forgot that story. But I progressed from there and played minor hockey, did a lot of traveling. Of course, a lot of traveling was going 130 miles to play a game, or 120 miles. But at 16 years old, we went to the British Columbia Championships in a place called Prince George, British Columbia. It was a midget championships, 14 to 16-year-old kids. And we got in the finals, and we got beat. And after the game, there was a guy comes down and knocks on the door, and he introduced himself. He was a scout from the Boston Bruins. And he was very interested in 3 of the players off our team, and one being me. So that was very exciting to find out they were interested in inviting me to a place called Estevan, Saskatchewan, which is about 9 miles from the North Dakota border in Saskatchewan there. And so in a way, we drive down there. It's 5-day drive, 2,800 miles, 5 days. And the roads in those days, there were no pavements, it was gravel and everything else. So it took us 5 days to get there. And we get down to Estevan, and the coach of the hockey team, the general manager, introduced themselves to the players, and I didn't realize there was 104 guys trying out for 4 positions on the team. And I said, what the hell, why am I here? So I go to the scout and ask me, why'd you invite me to something like this? He says, Joey, if I didn't think you had a chance, I wouldn't have invited you. So I knew I had to catch their eye, I had to do something, because I only had 4 days to prove myself. So I went out there and I got in 3 or 4 fisticuffs. I never won a damn one, I don't think, but you know what? I took a lot of punches to make the hockey team, but anyway, after 5 days, there's 100 guys gone, I'm still there. And I'm only 16 years old, and I was the youngest guy on the team. So anyway, after I make the team, they called me in to sign me to a contract. And I said, really, a contract to play hockey? And they said, yeah. And so anyway, they signed me a contract. I made $75 every 2 weeks. And $60 went to room and board, and I had $15 to spend. And I'm living high off the hog, man. This is a good thing. I tell you, I love this. I'm making money to play hockey. I'm making $15 every 2 weeks. I got spending money. But anyway, that's the way it started out. And my first year, I really didn't play a lot, so I went to a place called North Battleford, Saskatchewan, which is a farm team of the Estevan Bruins. And I go there, and we have a real good year, and we win the championship, and I got voted as the best defense in the league. And so that propelled me into next year to Estevan. I went there for 2 years. And while I was there 2 years, we won championships. In 1964, 1963, we played against the Edmonton Oil Kings, and there's a guy named Pat Quinn, who was on the Edmonton Oil Kings. You know Pat Quinn, he was a coach for the Flyers and so on and so forth. He was the biggest guy I ever saw as a hockey player. He was about 230, and he was running around hitting guys, and he broke one of our guys' legs and put another guy out, broke a guy's jaw. And they beat us in 7 games. They beat us in 7 games. I never forgot that, the son of a gun. When the Flyers hired Pat Quinn, I went right to him. I says, you son of a gun, you took the Memorial Cup away from us, because Memorial Cup was emblematic of supremacy in Canada for junior hockey. And I think if he hadn't have done that to us, I think we would have won the damn thing, but we didn't. But anyway, make a long story short, 1963, the Boston Bruins turned me pro, and I go to Minneapolis. Minneapolis Bruins are a farm team of the Boston Bruins again, and signed me to a contract again. This time I'm making $3,000 a year. I'm getting paid $219 every 2 weeks, and I thought this is good stuff. And I was doing that for a couple of years, and then 65, I went to Oklahoma City and played in the Central Professional Hockey League, again a farm team of the Boston Bruins, and we won the championship that year. But while I was there's a guy named Leo Boyven from Boston Bruins that broken his leg, and the Bruins called me up to play, and I was in Oklahoma City at the time. They called me up to play probably for 6-7 weeks. Well, lo and behold, there's a guy named Teddy Irvin who was my roommate, and he wasn't aware that I got called up to play in Boston. So he came home and turned the alarm off, because we're rooming together. And needless to say, I never made my flight. And Boston fined me $1,000. They fined me $1,000, left me Oklahoma City. And $1,000 in those days is a lot of money. And lo and behold, we had a great year. We won the championship. And again, I had a real good, successful year. I made some bonus money, so I wasn't that bad off. But anyway, 1966, I go to training camp in London, Ontario. And the Boston Bruins had all their young players there, and there was a guy named Bobby Orr. And so I looked at him, I says, how in the hell can he be a hockey player? He's about 135 pounds. That's all he was. And what he did, we broke training camp, and he went back to Oshawa, Ontario, which is that was the junior team he was playing for. And he bought a rowing machine. And he rowed for 6 months, 3 days, 3 hours a day sometimes, 5 days a week. For 6 months, he put on 55 pounds of muscle. So now he comes to training camp next year. I don't recognize the guy. I mean, I can't believe it's the same guy. So he comes and he makes the team, and then I was fortunate enough to make the team also. So him and I played together in Boston, and we roomed together, and he was a cook, and I had to clean the house. So that was an ideal situation for me. But I think that Orr revolutionized the game of hockey. They didn't have defensemen that played like he did. He was like the galloping gourmet. He grabbed the puck and just take off and try to get it off, and you couldn't catch him. And he was so shifty, and he could shoot the puck, and he could pass, and he was a very good player. And I think today he's probably the best player ever laced a pair of skates on. And that's saying a lot. And when you look around the National Hockey League and see all the great players they have, even today, I mean, they have some great players. Holy man, these guys are so skilled. But I think Orr revolutionized the game of hockey, and I talked to a guy named Paul Coffey when Paul Coffey came to Flyers years ago, and I asked him, he says, I did the same thing Orr did. Orr never wore socks, never had tape in his stick, and he'd wear a pair of skates for 4 or 5 games, get a brand new pair. Paul Coffey did the same thing. There's a lot of players that try to emulate what Orr did. And he changed the whole complexion of the game. And the game is so fast now and so offensive-minded that, there are a lot of guys in my era that played. We could probably play the game. We wouldn't be nearly as effective as these guys are now. They're so fast and big and strong and quick. But it's a great game to watch and everything else. But anyway, going back to my story, I came to the Flyers. In the expansion draft in 1967, you're only allowed to protect 10 players out of the whole organization. And I wasn't one of the 10 protected by Boston, so I came to the Flyers, and it was very difficult for me to accept that I came to the Flyers. I was very disappointed because they were a new expansion team, and I didn't know where Philadelphia was or anything about the city. The only thing I knew was in 1964, I watched an All-Star game on TV, and baseball game, and Johnny Callison hit home run the 15th inning. And that's the only thing I remember. I got to meet Johnny Callison a few times and tell him that story. But anyway, Flyers the first year, we had a real good year, and but in February we lost the roof on the old Spectrum. And I don't know if you remember this, we lost the roof. So we're like vagabonds. We played the last 22 games that year on the road, and we played in various places like Quebec City, we played in Toronto, we played in Boston, New York. But there's one game in particular I remember. We played against the Boston Bruins, and they had a guy named Eddie Shack. And Larry Zaidel was a player, and he was a tough guy. He was a Jewish player, and tough as nails, man. He was tough. And they were making all these snide remarks to him. And about the second period, Zaidel says, if I hear one more remark like that, I'm going after somebody. And Shaq said something to him. Well, they started at center ice with hockey sticks. They ended up with twigs behind the net. There was blood all over the place. I mean, both guys were getting hit. They were getting hit in the head and the face. And anyway, so then they're stitching him up. They're stitching him up, and Zaidel and in Toronto they had adjacent medical rooms. One was Shaq was in one, and Zaidel was the other one. And Zaidel found out Shaq was getting stitched up. He goes running in there with his skates on. He had 4 needles sticking out of his head, getting stitched up, and he tried to go after again. And thank God there was 4 policemen in the room there, or there would have been a holy war again. My God! But it was one of the worst, probably the worst fight I ever saw in hockey. Worst fight I ever saw in hockey. But going back to 1967, like I said, we were like vagabond. We played the last 22 games on the road, and I wouldn't be here today if this hadn't have taken place. But Mr. Snyder realized he didn't have any revenue. There was no revenue coming in. So consequently, you know, he couldn't pay the bills and everything else, and he needed at least $2 million to keep the franchise going. So he goes to a guy named Bill Bear. Bill Bear was in charge of Gerard Bank, the loan department. And Ed goes and talks to him and tells him his story, and Bill Bear was a big hockey fan. He went to Harvard, he played at Harvard, and he had season tickets with the Flyers. And Ed informed him, listen, if I don't get $2 million to keep this franchise going, there'll be no team. And Bill Bear says, you'll have $2 million in your account tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. And Ed goes there, the rest is history. The rest is history. The rest is history. And that's what happened. Yeah. But anyway, we went along. We struggled in those early years from 67 to 72, 73. We made the playoff, but didn't accomplish a lot. And then Mr. Snow, we played St. Louis in 67 again in the playoffs, and we got beat up very physically. It was a 7-game series, but they beat us up, and thus the Broad Street Bullies name wasn't born then, but Mr. Snyder says this will never happen to another Flyers team. We'll never get embarrassed, get beat physically by another team. And then he instructed the coaches, the general manager, and scouts to go out and get players that are tough and could play hockey. So then we draft Bob Kelly next year. Machine Gun Kelly had the quickest fist I ever saw in a hockey game. Oh God, he could throw him, man. He could throw him quick too. And then we got Dave Schultz, the Hammer. You know, Hammer was he was vicious on the ice, but off the ice he was just a real quiet guy, like a choir boy. And then we got Andre DuPont in a trade, and we already had Barry Ashby and Ed Van Imp as tough guys. So we became the Broad Street Bullies, and we cleaned house. We cleaned house a lot, I know. And we were not well liked in the National Hockey League. And but anyway, in 1974 we won our first cup. And if you ever watched the film, I was the last guy to touch the puck on the ice. But there was so much noise and noise and pandemonium in the building that the timekeeper didn't hear the whistle. And I touched the puck with 4 seconds to go. So it was a nice thing. Would have been bought back in the other team's zone anyway. So, but anyway, make a long story short, people started coming over the glass and the windows and everything else. And there's a little guy named Terry Crisp. He played 4 shifts in the bloody game. He makes a beeline for the bloody puck, and he still has the puck today. He still has the puck today. I was so glad. I saw the puck recently. We had a function. He bought it and showed it to me. And that should have been my puck, for God's sake. But he made a beeline for the linesman. He grabbed the puck for the lineman, and he has a puck today. But, you know, I was telling a story earlier on. We had they had a lacrosse game that evening when we won our first Stanley Cup. So consequently, they didn't have enough dressing room, so they had to use our dressing room. So they had to move all our equipment over to the University of Pennsylvania because that was our practice facility. We move all the stuff over there, and they go back 2 days later, get the equipment. It's all gone. Somebody got in there, took everything. My God, somebody made a haul, and I thank God I saved my jersey and my skates. But a lot of guys didn't get their jersey, didn't get their skates or anything. They were gone. It was gone. It's unfortunate. Guys lost. Oh, it's terrible. And then '75, we won another Stanley Cup, and we were cocky. We were good enough. We knew we were going to win. We were physical, and didn't matter who we were going to play. We knew we were going to win, and we won that year. And then '76, we went to the finals in '76 against Montreal, and we were beat up badly. We didn't have Bernie play. He didn't play the whole playoffs. We missed McLeish. McLeish was as good a player as there was in the National League at the time. We missed him, so Montreal beat us. But I remember that game in particular for another reason. We played the Russians in '76. It was January 11th, 1976. And the Russians were the most dominating team in Europe, and we were the most dominating team in North America. So it came down to a one-game series. They were beating all the top teams. The only team they didn't beat Montreal. They tied Montreal. So Clarence Campbell, I was telling this story earlier on, Clarence Campbell, the president of the league, he hated the Flyers. He didn't like the style of play we had, but he was the first guy in the dressing room before the game to make sure we uphold the prestige of hockey in North America. We have to win this game at all costs. And we told him to get the hell out of the dressing room. We didn't want him in there, and we went out and won for ourselves. We won 4-1. But halfway through the second period, we were in a shorthanded situation. And I never got beyond center ice most of the time, but I got beyond center ice and got in there. I scored a shorthanded goal against the great Russian Tretiak. And he was one of the finest goalies probably in the league in hockey. And I scored a goal in that game. And then and after the game, Freddie Sherrill comes in and congratulates us. And you know, we're happy and jovial, have a great time. And he says, Joe, by scoring that shorthanded goal, you're going to set the Russian hockey program back 20 years. And you know what? They still haven't recovered from the damn thing. They haven't. But anyway, it was a shorthanded goal. So Gene Hart, he's a world traveler. You all know Gene was. He was the announcer for the Flyers. And so he goes to Russia. He was in Moscow for a week and with his family. Then he goes to Siberia. He takes a 3-day train ride up to Siberia. And he comes across this old prison. And he sees these 5 guys on balls and chains. So he goes up to the Russian guard. He says, how come those guys are on balls and chains? And the Russian guard says, they were on the ice when Joe Watson scored a shorthanded goal. So the moral of the story, you want to be in the ice and I score a shorthanded goal, I guess. I don't know. It's probably the only one I scored, too. But, and then 77, we didn't win. 76 we didn't win. Then 77, I was getting down the end of my career, and the Flyers called me in, and you always have your end meeting with the coach and general manager, and they called me in. They said, Joe, we want to start breaking in some young defensemen, but we want you to stick around and help us develop these young defensemen. And I was only 35 at the time. I said, I think I can play a few more years. So they said, well, if that's the way you feel, we're going to have to trade you. I said, fine. So they traded me to Colorado. Well, I go to Colorado thinking I'll have a good time in Colorado. Hell, I was there 16 games. On November 11, 1978, I broke my right leg in 13 places. Ended my career. And I had 9 operations in my right leg. It's good as new now, but at the time, it was not good. But I still play a lot. Not as much as I used to, but we still play hockey. I just had a game here about 4 weeks ago. But yeah, it was a hell of a way to retire. You know, it was and when I did retire, Mr. Snyder offered me a job in the organization. He came to hospital in St. Louis. I broke it in St. Louis, so he came to hospital, and he came and said, Joe, you should have never went to Colorado. I said, Dad, but I wanted to play, and he said, yeah, but look what happened to you. I said, it's over and done with. Forget it. he said, well, I want you to come back and work in the organization. And I came back and I worked till February 8th this past year. And Comcast owned the company now, but they informed me that, I'm 78 and they wanted me to retire, and I said, Jesus, I want to work till I'm 80. I can still work till I'm 80. Because I was selling more than anybody. I was bringing a lot of business. And we just think it's time. Well, they couldn't say anything about my age because I could get them on that. They couldn't say anything about my salary because I get them on that. So to make a long story short, I retired very reluctantly. And it's been a difficult transition, especially going to work every day. And all of a sudden now you're not going to work anymore. And they paid me very dearly. They're still paying me for the next 2 years, a year and a half. But it was very, very difficult to retire. Holy God, if anybody's retired, you don't have anything to do more, and you got to keep your mind busy and your body busy. If you don't, you're going to age very quickly, and you're not going to last very long. So I try to keep myself very busy, very active. I work out 3-4 days a week. I still go out and, fool around playing hockey, not as much as I used to. But I must say that Philadelphia has grown on me. My kids, I have 2 children. In fact, Jerry Quill back there is a good friend of mine at Colgate. He recruited my son to go to Colgate, and I must say he's a very successful young man because of Jerry Quill that came to this function one night, and he recruited my son. So Jerry, for you, thank you very much for that. It really is very nice, Jerry. Yeah. And I have a daughter that she worked for telehealth now for the University of Pennsylvania. So she does all her business on the phone. So I have 2 wonderful children, 45 and 41. I have a second wife, who's a great lady. And it's not that my first wife wasn't a great lady too. She was. She gave me 2 kids, but we just couldn't see eye to eye on a lot of things. So we decided to go our separate ways. And I must say it's been a great experience for me. But the Flyers are like a second family to me. My God, they're being so good to me and everything else in so many respectful ways. And for me to retire at that time was, like I said, very difficult. But I'm over it. I'm getting over it. And I go out and speak at functions such as this. Do a lot of appearances. Did an appearance last week. And Pete Rose was there. I don't know if anybody knows Pete Rose. Yeah, he's kind of a rude guy to people. Oh my God, man. Oh boy. Oh boy. Huh? Oh boy. Hall of Fame. Oh, he'll never make the Hall of Fame. There's no way. Oh my God. But what he does, he's just rude to people. He's rude to people. He's getting paid all this money, and they put the picture in front of him. Never looks up, never says hi to the people. Just sign it and move on to the next person. And I just thought that was very uncalled for. You know who was really a good man? Was Muhammad Ali. I did a few shows with Muhammad Ali. What a fine gentleman. I'll tell you, in 1976, we're in St. Louis, and we're waiting for our pregame meal, which is a Saturday afternoon. We have our pregame meal at 12:30. And I saw an entourage of guys coming up the hallway in the old Chase Park Plaza in St. Louis. I looked and I said, geez, that looks like Ali, but I don't know if that's him. So I looked, it was Ali. So I went up and introduced myself, and he says, you guys are the bullies? And Bernie and I, Pratt and I, he says, yeah, you guys, we're the bullies. He says, this one is for you, and this one is for you. And that was Ali. He was funnier than hell. He gave us a big hug, and then later on, I was at another function with him, and fun guy. He's so nice with people. Ali was great with people. And he's not the only guy. There are a bunch of good guys, but I thought Pete Rose was rude to people. I really did. It was too bad. It's too bad. But anyway, that was a short synopsis of my career and everything else. And I know you have a lot of questions because I certainly asked a lot of questions earlier on. So don't be shy. If you have questions, raise your hand. Yeah, Jerry?
Joe played in a game 2 or 3 weeks ago, and at age 78, he nailed somebody who tried to go around.
He nailed me too. Holy Jesus. Oh boy. Yeah, we had a game here about 3 weeks ago at the Wells Fargo Center. And we had a good bunch of guys, and we had a good collection of athletes. There was a lot of guys from the Flyers Hall of Fame were playing, and then we had some other guys that were not, they were not in the Hall of Fame, but we flew them in. We flew guys in from Europe. Pelle Eklund came in from Sweden, and we had a hell of a game. It was a very competitive game. We won 6-5. I must say that my team won 6-5, and that's very important to me. Anybody can lose, but not anybody can win. Remember that. So I said, and I told our guy before the game, boys, that I love to win. I love to win. Everybody recognizes a winner, but a lot of people don't recognize losers, and we're not losers here. We're going to win. And I had Lindros on my team, and they had Danny Briere. Danny Briere is no slouch, I tell you, man. He was moving. And they had Pelle Eklund, but we had a good team, and it was a very competitive game. And I just love to compete. Regardless of what sport it is, I love to compete.
How'd you feel the day after?
Well, I was sore. I'm just getting over it now. I played the day before, too, in a game up in Lancaster. And I got hit there, too. Oh, God. But I got the guy, and he got me. We both went down, but anyway, it was good. I love to compete.
Joe, tell him, so you played 2 days in a row, and then tell him what you did the third day.
Oh, shoot. I have a friend of mine has a buffalo ranch out in Kennett Square. So I usually go out and help him sling the hay and the straw and everything else. So I had to go out. I got home around 1 o'clock the next morning, and I got up at 6:30, went out to Kennett Square and helped my friend load some hay and some straw, and took him to feed the animals. And I love that. I love hard work. I really do. And so that's what I did. And that wasn't the smartest move. That wasn't the smartest move I made in my life. Holy shoot, man. No, but I did, what the heck. He's a good friend of mine, and I thought I have to help him. Yep.
Who's going to be the next coach?
Next coach? I think they have one.
They have one already?
I think he's going to do an okay job. He's coached at 2 different levels. He's coached in the American League, and he's coached St. Louis and Minnesota, and he's done a pretty good job. And I think he's learned by, and he won a Stanley Cup as assistant coach with Pittsburgh. So I think he'll do the job. I notice the style of play is different than it was a week ago. He's forcing more issues now. They're retrieving more loose pucks, and they're not a zone behind the play. They're half a zone behind the play. What I mean by that, if you're coming down the ice and you're at the blue line, your partner in crime should be at. If your defenseman are coming down, you should be at the. If you're at center ice and the defense should shoot the blue line, well, the defense are up a little closer yet, because if there's a play broken up, they're right there to get the guy going, that's the opposition, before they can get going. So I think they changed their style, and I think it's working. And I like this coach. I don't know him. I've never met him, but I like this coach. I think he's going to do a good job. I really do. Yeah. Mike Yo's his name. Yeah.
But he's in the running to be permanent, or he's just...
He's the interim right now, but I think he's going to do a good job coaching, and hopefully, if he does a good job, obviously they will probably keep him. I think. I think the Flyers have made some terrible mistakes as far as moving players around, trading players. I don't want to criticize. I mean, I'm not criticizing the general manager, but he's the gentleman that's in charge of the whole thing. And I mean, how can you give a first-round draft pick and a second-round draft pick for a player who is a big, strong guy, but they haven't even signed him for next year? He's a free agent next year. So that means if this guy, if they don't sign him, he's a player on the team now, they don't sign him, they lose him, they lost a first-round and second-round draft pick, plus him. It's crazy. I mean, when you bring a player and you want to sign him, you should sign him before you trade for him or get another year in a contract. His contract is up this year, and if they don't sign him, they lose him. Plus, they gave a first and second-round draft pick for him, so that wasn't a good move. There's some other things too that have happened that I don't think they have thought very thoroughly about these trades. So hopefully, they can rectify this with this good coach. I think this coach is going to be a good job. I really do. Yep.
I got a couple questions. So, one, you were 5'6", 100 and nothing. Compare that to some of the guys that are around these days. I mean, I look at you and I think of maybe like a
Yeah.
I'd like to hear your perspectives on what made him different from owners in other organizations.
Oh, boy. Well, I got to, Mr. Snyder. I got to know Mr. Snyder. We had training camp up in Quebec City in 1967. And so we're having training camp, and there's these young kids running around in the dressing room. We're having meetings, and there's young kids running around. I said, what the hell's going on here? What are these kids running around? And, oh, they're Mr. Snyder's kids. I said, well, yeah, okay, Mr. Snyder. I'd never met him, you know. And we're having these meetings, and lo and behold, we go out on the ice, and I'm introduced to Mr. Snyder, and I says, how in the hell can you be an owner? You're 35, he was only 35 years old, and he was the owner of the team. And of course, make a long story short, he didn't, you know, he had all kinds of problems getting this team together and getting this money together, but he was a player's general manager or a player's owner. A lot of owners side in with the coaches and so on and so forth, the general manager. Ed never did that. Ed was always a player's owner. And whenever the players had problems with management sometimes, Ed would come to the rescue. He would go to the coach or general manager and kind of settle things down, really would. And I got to see him, I got to see him 3 weeks before he passed on. They flew Clarkie and myself and Bernie out to see him in California, and we're there talking, and we're there 3 days. And, you know, as we're leaving, he calls me over, he says, Joe, he says, you know, a lot of people might know a person for 50 years, but they've never worked together 50 years, and him and I worked together for 50 years. Holy God, and then he was gone. And I remember it was April 11th. April 11th he passed on. I have that ingrained in my mind. And what he meant to me, he did so much for not only me, to all our players. And the reason we became successful because of Mr. Snyder's spending habits. You know, he sided in with the players whenever the players had problems. You know, you had internal problems with your family. Sometimes you have problems. And he would go to the rescue and straighten things out. And loved the wives. He had a wife, Myrna, and she would always take the wives out 3 or 4 times a year and take them down to Jewelers Row and buy some nice jewelry for the wives, and it was really a family atmosphere. It really was, and it was very difficult when he passed on. It really was. Holy mackerel! I thought he was infallible. I really did. I really thought, you know, he could beat anything, and he would have beat it. You know what happened was he just married a young lady who was 44 years old. And he didn't want to rob her of, you know, whatever. So he decided to go to Switzerland and try to I guess overcome this disease he had. He thought he could do natural foods. He took all natural foods and took a lot of medicine. He was there 6 months. He was there 6 months hoping he could resolve this, but it didn't, you know, and all he had to do was he had a catheterization. He would have had a bag here. He would have had a bag. He would have probably still be with us today. But he didn't want to do that. He didn't want to rob his wife of the pleasures of a marriage, you know. So he went to Switzerland and it didn't work. Holy mackerel. We talked about that. I talked to him about that. And that was my mistake. I made a mistake, but he kept on saying I didn't want to rob my young lady of the pleasures of life, and that was it. You know, and what was the other question?
Just the change in the type of player that played the game. You were I mean, you look like us.
Yeah.
You had the heart of a champion.
Yeah.
And comparing that maybe to some.
Well, the athletes today are so much bigger, stronger, faster, and quicker. They're most skilled. You know what they did? They trained for 11 and a half months a year. The players nowadays, there's so much money at stake that, you know what, you've got to keep yourself in great shape. If not, somebody else is younger than you are going to take your job. And we never had to worry about that when we played. I used to try to get in shape the 1st of July. 1st of July, these guys go for, you know, they go 7-8 months, and then they are off for 2 weeks, and they're right back into training again. And that's a big difference. And these guys are so much skilled. There's so much skill in this game today. And we never had the skill that they have, but they trained harder. Their equipment is a lot younger and not as heavy. I mean, we play 4 games in 5 nights. We have 1 pair of skates, and the damn skates are waterlogged, and you could hardly move, for God's sake. These guys have 2 or 3 pairs of skates, you know. And that's just the way it is. That's the nature of the game. That's the way it was then. But athletes they're better, stronger. They're more talented than all the sports. Every athlete in the new sport is better than they were 20 years ago. They are. They really are. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
So, Joe, question for you. I'm probably the only person in this room whose father is also a captain was a captain in the Red Army. So I want to ask you a question about the Red Army.
Red Army.
Red Army. So you guys kicked their ass,
Yeah.
which I think is amazing.
Yeah. You know, it was because, like I said, they're the most skilled team in Europe, and they had skill. I mean, we couldn't do a lot of things they did with the puck. They were fast. The way they moved the puck and the way they handled it. They had Karmelov, the great Russian player, Karmelov. The thing about the Russians is they live a tough life. They drink vodka straight and beer for chaser. And that's okay sometime, but not every god-darn day.
Here's my question. Did you ever meet those guys later in life?
Yeah, we're just in Russia. We were in Russia 3 years ago. But the thing is, there's only 2 guys left from that team when we played in '76. But we had a fantasy week up in Montreal one year, and Tretiak and Karmelov were there. So I got to know them pretty good, you know, and we had a good time. In fact, we had a lot of people from Philadelphia were up there. There were about 60 people up there in a fantasy camp. And so Tretiak came and played with us in the game and goal. And Karmelov went and played for the other team. So it was really nice. We had a great time with these guys. But they were nice people, the Russians. They just, they lived a different life. And you know what they used to do when they came over here? They go buy jeans. They go to a store and buy jeans galore. And then they take all the jeans back and sell them on the black market in Russia. That's what they did. They did. They take all these jeans, 20, 30 pair of jeans. They can make good money off these things in Russia. And but the Russians were very skilled, much more so than the North American athlete, as far as hockey goes. But they didn't like the physical contact of the game, and that's why we beat them. You know, when before the game, Lloyd Gilmore was a referee for the National Hockey League, and he came in and said, "You guys can play your game. We're going to let you play your game." So that's all we had to hear. So, well, I don't think the Russian wanted to hear that, but anyway, we can play your game. So if you watch the opening face-off, the Russians got the puck. They made 30 passes amongst them. We stood there and watched them. We weren't going to chase them because everybody has a tendency to chase them down, and that's how they throw you off. So we stood there and waited for them to come. And Freddie Sherrill, our coach, says, they have the Iron Curtain in Russia. We're going to show them the Iron Curtain in North America. So what he wanted, the defensemen to stand up between the blue line and center ice to break up their play before they got going and try to throw them off stride. And we did throw them off stride. We would get control of the puck and be going at them, and they're standing still, some of them. And, you know, that's how we caught them off guard. So if you look at that game, we outshot them 49-13. And if Tretiak hadn't have played well, we would have beat them 10-1. Oh, 10-1. I mean, my God, he was so good. And Russian had so many great players. Petrov and Mikhailov and Gutsev. I mean, just really, really good players. And they're all young guys, but you know what? Their lifestyle was very difficult. Very difficult. Oh, boy. Yes?
I have a question to David. I was wondering if players you played against, your adversaries, back when you played,
Right.
pretty much stayed with one team your whole career, and there was a lot of animosity or hatred even among other players. Did you ever, after your careers were over, I'm from Montreal, so I'm thinking of players like Yvon Conway or Larry Robinson. Did you ever form relationships with them?
Yeah, you know, I got to know them pretty well. Conway, there's nobody faster than Conway. You know, they talk about speed in the game today. He could outskate the puck, Conway. Oh, my God, he could skate, man, and he could shoot the puck. And Jean Béliveau was a centerman for a while, and then they had Jacques Lemaire. Oh, my God. But Conway, Cornway. I got to know a lot of guys, like Orr. Orr's a good friend of mine. I got to know a lot of guys, but we never really conversed on the ice. Even after the game, we didn't converse, but the summertime, we'd see each other and converse. But for the most part, I had friends on the other team, but we never really said much. Not like the day to do the day. My God, they're all buddies. And you know what happens today? There's so many agents in the game. There's so many players that one agent might represent 30 or 40 players. So consequently, he'll have a big party in the summertime. All these players from various teams come in, they get together, they're all buddies, and you don't touch me, I won't touch you, and we'll go on our merry way. And that's the way it is now. But it wasn't that way when we played. I can remember my first year, full year in the league in '66 with Boston. We played back-to-back game because there's only 6 teams in the league then. And so we take a train between Montreal and Boston. So the winning team went in the first car where the food car next. And the losing team had to be in the second car. So that means if you wanted food, you had to go through the first car to get your food. And of course, the guys wouldn't talk to one another. And I wasn't aware of all this stuff going on, but I was told not to say anything. I remember one night, I know John Ferguson from Montreal because he was a friend of mine from British Columbia, where I'm from. And John saw me, he went like that. Shh, don't say anything. But that's the way it was. Yeah, that's the way it was, boy. All's fair in love and war. I mean, it was war. I mean, it's like I got $100 in my pocket and you got $100 in your pocket. May the best man win. But there was a lot of animosity to guys. But in the summertime, we got along. But in the wintertime, there was no conversing. Yes, back there. Yep.
So take us inside the locker room with that famous quote from Fred Shero before the...
When did they walk together forever?
Yeah.
Well, you know.
And also tell us about your experience, in the parade and what it was like.
Okay. Well, the parade was a lot of fun, obviously. I mean, we got totally inebriated and got sick and everything else. And I went home and slept for 2 days, that first one. The second one was the cat's meow. You know why? Streaking was in. Oh my God. And if you remember, all shapes and sizes of these girls were climbing these poles and everything else. And, oh my God, it was a sight to be seen. And my mother was down from Canada, and so was my dad. But my mom in particular, she says, "Oh my God, I can't believe what I'm seeing." And she would turn her head like this because they were streaking all over the place, and the people were wearing jerseys and the Flyer jerseys, and that was the best part of the second parade. Second part of the second parade it was. And then, of course, we didn't win the third time, but what the heck. What was the first question then?
Just about Fred Shero.
Oh, Fred Shero, yeah. He was way ahead of his time. He implemented a system. Nobody had a system in the league. He implemented practices in the morning, day of a game. Come to the rink and get your skates sharpened and your sticks ready. And he brought video into the game, which was never around then in '72. There's just so many things. Freddie would say something, and us being hockey players, we figured out a month later that's how smart we were. And I'm referring to "Win Today, Walk Together Forever." That was one of his quotes, famous quotes. And he'd always say, "I want you to take the shortest route to the puck and arrive in ill humor." And that was one of our favorite sayings. And we said that, we used that a lot. But Freddie had some great sayings. He was another guy ahead of his time. And he was a fun guy to be around. And we'd have practices. We'd have a game one night. Next morning, we go to practice at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and Freddie'd be in there. And we go into the room where he's watching he's watching the tape of the game. And there'd be 6 or 7 cans of beer in the garbage can, for Christ's sake. That means he'd been probably sitting there since 6 in the morning and drinking 6, 7 beer. And then he wouldn't come out in the ice to run practices. He'd send the assistant coaches because he couldn't stand it. He couldn't skate, Freddie. But that's the way Freddie was. Oh boy, he was a fun guy. I remember the day he died at 52 years old. I went to visit him when he was dying in Camden, the Camden Hospital, Cooper Medical Center. And we're in the room there, him and I, and he had all shrunk up. His head was the right side, but he'd shrunk up. His body was shrinking. And so I get in there, and it took him about 45 minutes before he realized I was there. And anyway, he got a piece of paper and a pencil, and he tried to diagram a play for me. Tried to diagram a play, and next morning he was gone. Next morning he was gone. But that goes to show you, hockey was his thing, man, and he knew how to coach. There's so many guys emulated what he did in that game of hockey. They really followed him very closely. A lot of coaches. He used to have coaches symposiums, and all these coaches from other teams in the National Hockey League would come to his symposium to have these coaches' clinics. He'd teach them all what we were doing, and they try to emulate what we were doing. That's what a lot of teams were doing, and Freddie didn't care. He says, may the best man win. That's the way he looked at it, you know. But he was all hockey and just a great man. He really was. Yeah. Yeah, Jordan, yeah.
So I talked earlier about the first time I met you,
Yeah.
and that was at Dave Shore's. And so what I'd like you to do, I'm sure there's a lot of people in this room that would know this whole scenario. But you told me how it was that you even got to Dave Shore's.
Yeah, there was
With
yeah.
the Mac bathhouse. So if you
Yeah.
could tell that story.
Well, I mean, I love a good spot treatment. What the heck? You know, they have those leaves. They have the leaves and so on and so forth. But there was a guy named John Ash. He owned a clothing business. He was the one that made the first Flyer jerseys up for the Flyers. Mr. Snyder didn't have a lot of money, so Mr. John Ash, he got two free season tickets for the whole year for making our jerseys the first year. And he was the one that took us to the Combat Club all the time, and we would go there maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks and go there and have a nice spot, and then we'd go to Dave Shore's for steaks. Steaks. I don't know if you remember Dave. Anybody remember Dave Shore's here? Okay, a few of them. Okay, a few people. Okay, yeah. We used to go there, but we had a great time. But I didn't realize you were there, by God, and I didn't get a chance to. Did we?
I was too scared to approach you.
Oh, gee, really?
Yeah.
Oh, boy, it shouldn't felt that way.
I said, I think that's Joe Watson, but what would he be doing at Dave Shore's?
Yeah, yeah.
It was, for those of you that don't know, Dave Shore's was down this little alleyway next to the Forest Theater downtown. And it was like this sort of Jewish-style steakhouse. And mobsters would go there, Jewish mobsters would hang out there, and the theater crowd would go there. And I walked in because my dad worked in the theater, and I walked in one night before the dinner crowd showed up, and there's a guy standing there. I said, that looks like Joe Watson. And it was.
Yep.
But, you know, there was the Kamak bathhouse, which was, you know, before there were day spas, there was the Kamak. And, or as we call it, the Schwitz. And that's a whole different story. Yeah, right. Exactly. So to find out that Joe Watson and Ed Van Im are
Yeah.
hanging out at the Kamak bathhouse and then having dinner around the corner at Dave Shore's blew my mind.
Yeah,
Just blew
yeah.
my mind.
Yes.
Joe, I don't think that any Flyers fan can fathom that it's really been since 1975 that the Flyers actually hoisted a cup. Of all the near misses over the years, from 76 to 80 and Leon Stickles blowing off sides,
Yeah.
to the Keenan era, to the one cup that the Lindros group went to, of all of those teams, which near miss do you think should have won?
Okay, I think the team, when Edmonton beat them in 7 games, you know what? If they had Timmy Kerr playing, Brian Propp, they missing 4 or 5 key players, and they took them to 7 games. Edmonton went on to win 4 or 5 Stanley Cups after that. But the Flyers have had Timmy Kerr, Brian Propp. And Dave Poulin shouldn't have been playing, but he was playing. Mark House shouldn't have been playing, but he was playing. Brad McCrimmon. Flyers should have won the Stanley Cup that year. If you look at the Flyers, and since 1974, since 74, the Flyers have been in the finals 8 times. There's only one team that's been in the finals more than Flyers. It's Montreal, been there 9 times. And we've only won it twice, but the thing is, a lot of teams have only been in the finals once. The Flyers have been there 8 times. 8 times. And so I think that's quite commendable. It says a lot about the organization. Yes?
So you got sent to Philadelphia, didn't know much about it.
Yeah.
Was there a moment you can recall that just really became a part of you, that became?
Well, I'll tell you, The first year, we had training camp up in Quebec City. We were there 6 weeks. So now we come down to Philadelphia. And the bus driver picks us up. We're going over the old Penrose Avenue Bridge. Penrose Avenue Bridge. And we get down to the bottom of the bridge, and I'm very inquisitive, so I'm sitting in front of the bus. I said, what the hell's that machine doing? Oh, the bus driver says, oh, that's grinding up body parts. And there were cars there, but what the mafia would do, they would get rid of somebody, put them in the goddamn car and get them grounded up together. And that was my first impression of Philadelphia. I was, holy crap, what the hell am I doing here? So anyway, okay, so now the mayor, James Tate's the mayor, and he wants to have a parade down Broad Street for the Flyers. Well, we start marching down Broad Street. Hell, there are more people in the parade. They're watching this parade going down Broad Street. I said, we're not going to be here very long. But anyway, we show up, and at the City Hall, and the mayor wanted to have a lunch with us. He doesn't even show up for the function. I never forgot that. So 7 years later, we win the Stanley Cup, and there's 2 million people show up. So we got on the chambers again, and I'm inebriated, and I got up and I says, where the hell was the mayor 7 years ago when we invited this city? And Frank Rizzo was the mayor, and Frank says, oh, don't blame me, I wasn't the mayor. Frank Rizzo, he says, oh, don't blame me, I wasn't the mayor. But anyway, it was a trying experience, it really was, but it worked out very well, and I can honestly say, I'm certainly glad I'm here, because I wouldn't have had a chance to talk to you people. And really, God, yeah. Robert, yes.
Joe, we could go on all night, and I so appreciate your time. I've learned so much tonight from you. One question I just want to ask. Do you know anything about the history of the logo? Who designed it, and who voted on it, and who turned that P into the flyer?
Well, you know what? Do I know? You know what? Okay, Flyers came. I don't know if it came from. I think it did, but maybe not. There was the Edmonton Flyers that played in the Western Hockey League, and Bud Poyle, our general manager, he was a general manager, came from there, the Flyers. But I don't think that originated there. I think what happened was Ed's wife or sister or something like that came up with a name and came up with a logo and everything else. And, Mel Richmond Company, okay, yeah. And I think that's where it originated. But I thought that when I saw the Flyers, I said, well, the old Edmonton Flyers, they were a farm team of the Detroit Red Wings. But I think I'm wrong. But I just thought that's where it initially came from, but I guess it wasn't. But I think it was Ed's sister who came up with a name.
His sister or his wife?
No, I think it was his sister. Yeah. But I think that's where it originated. Yep. Any more questions? Yeah.
Tell them about the coach and the goalie situation. When you had Cron and the other goalie, and he was saying, they played all these times. They played Cron.
Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, yes, this is a good, So anyway, we're playing Boston, national television, on a Sunday afternoon. This is 1975 or 6. So anyway, NBC's there to do the game. So Sunday afternoon, we played in Oakland on a Friday night. We flew over Saturday over to Boston. And we're having a great time. We're up in first class there, and they had the piano bar up there. And we had some of the stewardesses playing songs with us, so we had quite a time, 6-hour flight. But anyway, so next morning, we had a 12:30 game, 12:30 national television. So NBC show up, talk to Freddie, and about the Perrant Cheevers goaltending battle. So anyway, NBC come down the dressing room and they want to talk to Perrant, and Freddie says, what do you want to talk to Perrant for? Well, we want to talk about the game today, him and his battle with Cheevers. And Freddie says, oh no, he's not playing today, it's Bobby Taylor playing. And now Bernie had played 35 straight games, so why are you playing Bobby Taylor? Freddie says, it's his turn. It's his turn. And I'll never forget, we got beaten that game 5-3, and I remember Orr come down. Now, Orr was so strong in the arm, forearms are very powerful. you know, your stick handling position is up here in your stick, passing is down here and your shooting's here. Well, Orr always had his hands up here like this. If you ever knew if he was going to pass the puck or shoot the puck or what he was going to do, or stick handle. And I remember Orr let a shot go in the second period. It went in the net so quickly, hit Bobby Taylor in the back in the shaker, and he didn't know what the hell hit him. He did, what the hell was that? It went in the net so quickly and got him right in the back. But yeah, Bobby Taylor played 7 games that year, and that was his turn. I said, that was funny. That was Freddie's Chiro's humor. Yeah. But anyway, closing here, I want to thank you very much for having me. I really enjoyed it immensely. Yeah, I really did. God, yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you.
Joe, we want to thank you for coming out, and we loved your stories. We have a $20 50-50. And does anybody want to get into this before we draw?
We have 340 right now.
Okay.
That's total. You need one more to make it.
The one with no name.
The one with no name.
Harry. What?
Just initials.
Okay, is anybody else?
That's a perfect, it's 360 now, it's perfect.
Okay.
2 times 5.
Okay, we got a perfect number here. Okay. Joe, as our man of honor, we would like you to pick out a bill here. Joe, this is how we make your fee.
This is Joe's speaking fee.
We were actually going to get a hurricane machine and have you try to grab as much as you could keep.
W.
Stan, congratulations. Is there anything else? Okay, we want to thank you all for coming in. We will see you next time. Thank you.